It was 3:15 on a quiet Tuesday afternoon when Elon Musk's video screen suddenly turned black. At first, everyone thought it was a small technical issue, but when seconds passed and the screen stayed dark, an uneasy silence filled the conference room. His assistant Miranda froze. Just a moment ago, Elon had been speaking with engineers from 3 countries about a new SpaceX launch. Now the screen was blank, no sound, no signal. She tried calling his private number. The phone rang once, twice, then went straight to a robot voice. The subscriber is not available. Her hands trembled. In 7 years of working for him, this had never happened before. By 4 p.m., Ori spread through the company like a quiet storm. No one could reach Elon. Not by phone, not by tracker, not by satellite. Security teams checked every system. The logs showed that Elon Tesla had left the building right after the call ended. He would told his guards he wanted to be alone and needed to think. The car's GPS showed it heading north along Highway 101. Then nothing. The signal simply disappeared near Half Moon Bay. At first, people joked it was just a glitch, maybe a satellite issue or weak coverage. But as minutes became hours, the ladder stopped. The man who dreamed of taking humanity to Mars had vanished without a trace. At Tesla headquarters, Chief of Operations Thomas Reeves stood by his office window, watching the sunset turn the sky orange and gold. His phone would not stop ringing. Board members, investors, reporters, all demanding answers he did not have. How do you explain that one of the world's most famous men is simply gone? Thomas loosened his tie, his throat dry, his heart heavier than ever. He had worked with Elon for years. They did not always agree, but they shared a vision, a future built on innovation and hope. Now that future felt fragile, like glass about to crack. Meanwhile, across San Francisco, Detective Sarah Kolsky was finishing cold pizza at her desk when her captain walked in. His face was pale and serious. He closed the door and said, "Sarah, we have a situation and it's big." When she heard Elon Musk's name, she stopped breathing for a second. She would handle missing person case before. But this was different. This was a disappearance that the interworld would watch. For the next 6 hours, Sarah and her team chased one lead after another, and every one of them ended in silence. Security cameras caught Elon's Tesla leaving the office, driving calmly along the road. Then it entered a stretch with no cameras and vanished from the digital map. Helicopters searched the coast. Police cars checked every gas station and cafe along Highway 1. Still nothing. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. Back at SpaceX, engineer David Park tried to hold his team together. A rocket launch was scheduled in 72 hours, and the room buzzed with panic. David had spent countless nights working based alone, solving problems that seemed impossible. Now, staring at Elon's empty chair in the meeting room, he wondered if he had missed some sign, a word, a look, a clue that could explain all this. By the 8th hour, the news had leaked. Every major network on the planet ran the story. Elon Musk missing, global search underway. Rumors spread like wildfire. Kidnapping, a government cover-up, even alien abduction. Stock prices jumped and fell like waves in a storm. Billions of dollars moved on whisper and fear. And far away, in a small apartment in Austin, Texas, a woman named Jennifer Econi watched the news with tears in her eyes. 2 years earlier, her daughter Amara had been saved by Elon Musk's quiet act of kindness, paying for an expensive treatment that Jennifer could never afford. Now, the man who had given her child a second chance was missing. She hugged Amara tightly and whispered, "Please be safe, Mr. Musk." As night fell, Detective Sarah sat in her car, staring at maps covered with red pins and lines that led nowhere. Every call, every clue, every shadow of a lead gone. The only truth was silence, and deep inside, Sarah felt something she had not felt in years. Fear that this time she might not find the missing person alive. Days passed, then weeks. No one could find even a single sign of Flight 914. It was like the airplane had just vanished from the sky. Families cried, the news channels kept repeating the mystery, and rescuers searched every part of the route between Newark and Miami. But there was nothing, no wreckage, no signal, no sound. People started to believe it was lost forever. Some said maybe it crashed into the Caribbean Sea. Some said it was taken by aliens, and others whispered that maybe it had entered a time hole. A mysterious gate where time itself breaks. Years passed. Everyone forget Flight 914. But then something unbelievable happened. 37 years later, on March 9, 1985, an air traffic controller in Caracas, Venezuela, was sitting in his control room when suddenly his radar beeped. A plane was showing up, but it did not match any flight number on his list. He checked again. The radar showed Flight 914, New York to Miami. The controller froze. That flight had disappeared in 1955. He quickly turned on his radio and said, "Unidentified aircraft, please identify yourself." After a few seconds, a voice replied, "This is Pan Am Flight 914. We were supposed to land in Miami. Where are we?" The controller's hand started shaking. He could not believe what he was hearing. He looked at the radar again. The plane was real and it was about to land. After that day, no one ever saw Flight 914 again. The Venezuelan Air Force searched the whole sky for weeks, but there was no sign. No radar, no radio, nothing. It was like the plane appeared from another world and went back there again. When the story came out, people went crazy. Some thought it was fake. Some believed it was a miracle or course of time. Many theories started spreading all over the world. Theory 1. Timetable accident. Some scientists said maybe Flight 914 entered a some time portal, a strange tunnel where time does not move normally. Maybe the plane flew into a loop and stayed stuck there for 37 years, while the people inside felt only a few hours has passed. When the portal opened again, it came out in 1985, but once the pilot realized the truth, he flew back into the same portal and disappeared forever. Theory 2. The Bermuda Triangle. Another group said the plane crossed the edge of the Bermuda Triangle, a mysterious area in the Atlantic Ocean where ships and planes vanished. Maybe the triangle pulled the plane into another dimension, and it came back years later by mistake. Theory 3. Government cover-up. Some conspiracy lovers believed something even darker. They said maybe the US government was testing a secret experiment in 1955, something involving teleportation or invisibility, and Flight 914 accidentally got trapped inside the test. When it came back, they covered up everything, removed all records, and erased the truth. But one thing made it even more mysterious. The Caracas newspaper published an interview with the controller who saw the plane. He said that after the event, men in black suits came to his office and took all the radar records, his report, and even the audio tapes. They warned him never to talk again. The next day, he quit his job and disappeared too. No one saw him again. After the strange event in Caracas, the world could not stop talking about Flight 914. Newspapers print headlines like "Ghost Plane Land After 37 Years" and "Passenger from the Past Appeared and Vanished Again." But no one, not a single government, not even the airline, gave a clear explanation. Slowly the story started fading away again. Yet for the families of those passengers, it was not just a story. It was a wound that never healed. The forgotten families. One woman named Mary Collins was only 8 years old when her father boarded Flight 914. She had waited her whole life for him to come home. When she saw the news in 1985, she ran to the TV crying, screaming, "That's my daddy's flight, he's alive." But later that night, when she heard the plane vanished again, her heart broke all over. In an interview years later, she said, "It felt like time was playing a cruel joke on us. He came back for a moment, just to disappear forever." The Secret Files. Years later, a retired air traffic controller named Juan de la Corte from Caracas finally spoke out. He said he was the one who talked to the pilot that day. His voice was calm but full of sadness. He explained that when the plane appeared on radar, its signal did not look normal. It was not just a modern plane. The radar showed some kind of energy distortion around it, as if time itself was bending. When they checked the flight details later, they found something shocking. The aircraft's identification number N379PA was officially registered missing since 1955. The Pan American Airlines had been shut down long ago. He showed an old piece of paper, a rather long entry that he had secretly kept hidden. The ink was faded, but it clearly showed the timestamp. March 9, 1985, unknown aircraft identified as Flight 914 landed and disappeared. After that, Juan said some mysterious man came to his office. They showed government base, confiscated every document and told him, "Forget what you saw. It never happened." Juan never spoke about it again until his dying days. Before he passed away, he gave that paper to a journalist and said only one line: "The truth is not lost, it's just locked somewhere in time." Strange evidence appears. Years later, a maintenance worker at the Caracas airport claimed he had found something unbelievable in a locked storage room covered with dust. He found an old flight logbook with the words Pan Am Flight 914 written on the cover. Inside there were pages of handwriting, names of passenger, flight hours, and notes from the pilot. The last entry read, "We see land ahead, but it's not Miami." There were strange lights in the clouds. The worker took photos of the book and sent them to a local newspaper. But 2 days later, both he and the book disappeared. The newspaper's office received a call warning them never to publish the photos. They deleted everything and said they did not want any trouble. What really happened? Even now, no one knows the real truth, but many experts try to explain the mystery in scientific ways. Some physicists believe Flight 914 might have entered a time slip, a natural phenomenon where a piece of time bends and connects two different years. In this theory, the plane could have flown through an invisible doorway in the atmosphere, where time runs differently. That means for the passengers, only a few minutes passed, but outside 37 years had gone by. So when they came out of the time slip, they were still young, their watches still ticking, their hearts still beating, but the world had completely changed. And when the pilot realized it was not 1955 anymore, maybe he panicked, maybe he thought it was a trick or war trap. So he did what any pilot would do. He turned the plane around, trying to go back the same way he came, but the time gate closed behind him. The emotional slide. Life frozen in time. If you think about it, those passengers might still be out there, flying forever in some unknown layer of time, stuck between yesterday and today. Maybe they look out the window and see the same sunset forever, not knowing they are part of the biggest mystery in aviation history. Scientists may explain it with the theories, but for the families, it was pure heartbreak. Their loved ones were gone twice, once in 1955 and again in 1985. Unanswered clues. There are still a few strange facts people talk about. No official record of Flight 914's second appearance exists, but several independent witnesses claim to have seen the landing. The radio recording between the Caracas control tower and the pilot was said to have existed for a short time before being confiscated. In the Smithsonian archives, one page from the 1955 Pan Am records is missing, the one listing the pilot of Flight 914. Every few years, There are reports from pilots in the Caribbean saying they will be seen an all-star airplane flying high in the sky, its Pan Am logo shining faintly in the sunlight. When they try to contact it by radio, they only hear static and then silence. A message beyond time. Some people believe Flight 914 is a warning from the universe. That time is not as simple as we think. It bends, folds, and sometimes traps those who cross its hidden lines. Others believe it's a sign of hope, that even when we think something is gone forever, maybe it still exists somewhere waiting to return. A famous writer once said, maybe Flight 914 never crashed, maybe it just found a road the rest of us can't see. Final words, the mystery lives on, even today more than 70 years after it vanished. The story of Pan Am Flight 914 continues to haunt people's minds. No official answer, no final proof, just a memory, half fact, half legend. But if you ever fly over the Caribbean on a quiet night, look down at the cloud glowing in moonlight, listen closely. Some pilots say they can still hear a faint voice on the radio whispering. This is Pan Am Flight 914 requesting permission to land. Then silence, and maybe somewhere in that silence, the passengers of Flight 914 are still waiting, trapped into endless sky, between two times, between two worlds, a ghost plane flying forever. A reminder that even in our modern age, some mysteries will never be solved. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel.